right, welcome back everybody. I'm Noah Sawyer, and this is the Junto. This is episode 29, and it is Friday the 13th, March 2026. So I'm going to do something a little bit different here that I have wanted to do for a while. I want to do sort of a music lesson, or, well, it is sort of a music lesson. It will be a music lesson, but it will still be an episode of the Junto for reasons that I think will be obvious to people who watch the show. So yesterday I started touching on this concept of brain fog of war, where due to the changes in cognitive culture in Western societies, but really lots of societies that have had cell phones or that have had smartphones sort of injected into the cultural world. And now it's a few decades since that injection. I think we are all losing our ability to sustain focus and concentrate and control our attention. And I was talking about how that is that is sort of perilous given the global security situation and how nightmarish the political developments of the 21st century and really the second half of the 20th century and the first half of the 20th century have all been. So yeah, I highlighted that concept because brain fog is such a popular way of thinking about how we can't concentrate or we lack a certain interiority. It's as if the fog has intruded upon our interior mental space and closes off the amount of space that we have. And I think there is an interesting relation between space and time, where the faster things get, it's like there is less space. So the more that you're processing, the less space you have for that processing to push into different depths and see other aspects of whatever it is you're considering. So I'm going to illustrate this through playing music today, and I'm going to do an exercise basically. And this is an exercise that anybody can do. You don't need to be a musician, and I actually think it is a great way to start being a musician, to do something like this. I think there are many great ways to start becoming a musician. I don't think it's something you're born with. I hear quite often that people often say, because I'm a musical person, music has played a large role in my life since I was a child. And people will often say, oh, I'm not a musical person about themselves. And I really think it is something that can be honed and practiced. I think we're all born with and develop into, we have different aptitudes. We have different sensitivities that allow certain things to be more or less enjoyable to us. And some people just understand at an early age, or they're exposed to things that allow them to understand different aspects of music, and they will play accordingly. They'll pick up on certain things. You can see like young prodigies, and they are highly musically sensitive people. That's what allows them to pick up on what they hear and see and do it themselves, perform it. So yeah, I'm just sort of averse to that type of thinking. Obviously we all have different aptitudes. We all have different things that we're good at and things that we just can't do, or that we don't have the sensitivity to even pick up on why we're bad at that thing, why our coordination might be bad in a certain sport. We may not know. So anyway, I will get into that in a minute. I'll get into the exercise in a minute, but in the meantime, if you're not a musician, you may not have an instrument. But lots of people, they will have a roommate or a neighbor with an acoustic guitar, or maybe drumsticks and a practice pad like this one. A lot of drummers have these if you happen to live with one or know one. And a lot of musicians also have multiple instruments. And if you're friends with a musician, I imagine they would be open to lending you one, at least for the sake of some sort of experiment in thinking about sound. And this fits into a broader class of activities that I think people need to practice specifically in this decade as things fall apart if we're not careful, as we atrophy our attention if we're not careful. I think we need to exercise our attention. And there are lots of types of concentration games or exercises. They are interesting. They are unpredictable. So they're sort of game-like in that there's almost a play element to the attention you're paying or to your imagination. And so, yeah, well, other ones are, say, this is like a pure attention exercise where you like pick an object, perhaps an organic object, but something simple, and set a timer for 5 or 10 minutes. And the rule is that you can only look at that thing for that amount of time. And you could also impose on yourself, I can only think about this thing. I have to be thinking about what I'm seeing for this amount of time. And that's a good way to learn how long 5 minutes really is. And at a time when, in an age where our time is being stolen from us every day in various ways, but particularly in the way where we check for notifications and we lose a minute, we lose 30 minutes, we lose an hour, even though we weren't setting about to spend that much time on our phone or on YouTube, whatever it is. So you could do that. You could perhaps borrow an instrument. However, everything makes sound. So you can get pretty much anything to make a sound. You could tap on a book. You could... There are lots of things you can discover. However, it's difficult to discover them because we are used to... I mean, some people listen to lots of music every day. They'll listen to music as a passive activity while they are in transit, whether they're walking from their dorm to a classroom, or they're on the subway, or they're in the car. Music has become this medium through which we pass time. However, if you cut yourself off from that type of experience of music, you can start to use music and use sound to explore time in a deeper way. And lots of people have thought and written about this, and I'm not super familiar with Pauline Oliveros. I thought I might have her book Deep Listening over here, but it's somewhere else. I've read just little bits of that, and it's all about deep listening exercises, about getting the most out of your experience of your sonic senses. So there's lots of people out there, there's lots of music out there to be discovered, and I don't think we should only listen to music that we listen to habitually. I think you could set about exploring as much music as possible, as diversely as possible for your whole life, and you would not finish by the time you die. There is such an insane amount of recorded music, and we haven't been recording music for more than 150 years. Like, there's there's so much already. Anyway, that another way to start to increase that sensitivity, at least, and I think this is a great exercise, even if it sounds silly, is to put in earplugs and also put on earmuffs and be in a relatively quiet environment to begin with, and stay like that while you do some tasks. Maybe you have homework to do, maybe you have reading to do, maybe you have chores to do, but you go through life with this limited sonic experience, and it's a limited sonic experience. It's a limited sonic experience of the outside world, but it's actually an enhanced sonic experience of the inside world. You will hear your heartbeat. You will hear your breath. You will hear your stomach. You'll hear the circulation of your blood. You'll hear, it's subtle, but the heartbeat's pretty loud when you're in that situation. So basically you adjust to a different type of sound, and it is a body sound. So you actually enter into a deeper synchronicity with your own body and your own system by doing that. And then, really always maybe the most interesting part, Although it's interesting to do that. You learn things about yourself. Like I read that breathing book on air a few episodes ago. However, and maybe they bring this up in that book. They talk about how inhalation is excitatory and exhalation is, I don't know what word they used, but it's more relaxing. You're exhaling. It talks about that a little bit, but I didn't realize until I was actually doing this experiment with sound muffling, that I can notice that my heart rate increases when I am breathing in, and that it actually decreases when I'm breathing out. And that was a consistent thing I was observing. I think I was also, maybe this was when I was using a stethoscope, which is also just an interesting way to get back in synchronization with your body through sound, because it amplifies the sounds of your body. Anyway, but what happens when you take off the earmuffs and take out the earplugs is perhaps most interesting, especially if you're in a very familiar room like a bedroom. If you do it there and then you get re-exposed to sound, there is a new richness to the room that you are so used to. The room that you think you know everything about it, but then suddenly you know what it sounds like. You know what it really sounds like. You hear sort of this resonant frequency of the room almost. You hear certain sounds in your air conditioner that you've never registered. You hear certain sounds of the air circulating outside the window differently. You just will notice sound differently. And then as you start to make sound, you move about your room and you put things down, you are more sensitive to the reverberations of that. You're more aware of what your room does to that sound. You make that sound and then your room does something to it. So yeah, that's just a little preamble here. Because one more thing I'll touch on with the preamble. And this goes back a little bit to people who say that they don't have musical talent. So much of it is practice. So there's two types of practice. You could think of practice as practicing on your instrument, practicing actual specific things on the instrument, how to play a song, how to play a scale, how to pull off a particular technique. However, practice could also be seen as practicing to develop your sensitivity to sound and your sensitivity to your body parts that engage with the instrument. So I'm going to play bass later, and that would be my fingers. That would be my fingers on all my hands especially, but yeah, it's really mostly a hand and arm instrument. And I play the drums as well, and that is one where you think about how... So say someone says, oh, I could never play the drums. Oh, I tried playing the drums once and it was horrible. I'll never play the drums. If you think about how many times a professional drummer or just a serious drummer, someone who drums and takes it seriously as a practice in their life, think about how many times they do that. How many times they swing a stick and they hit something. It is, I don't know what the quantity is. I mean, for some of them, I'm sure it breaks a million. And it doesn't take long to add those up. You can just, if you practice an hour a day, which that's something, even, many great musicians don't even practice that much. And some musicians practice 8 hours a day. Professional musicians take it extremely seriously. And so you just build up so much habit for... Oh, hang on a sec. Am I, I thought my audio channels were just, flipped upside down, and I was like, am I... Because the bass is muted right now, but my voice is not, and I was like, oh my god, my voice is muted, but the amp is on. No one's complaining in the chat, and it looks fine, but gave me a heart attack. Anyway, so when you do stuff like this, say you set a timer and you do this for 5 minutes. Say you try to do it, some exercise like this with both hands for an hour, but something simple where you're just doing maybe right, left, right, left, right, left between both hands. Or let's make it even more simple. You're literally just doing this. If you're just doing this, and you don't need a practice pad to do this, you just need a drumstick. And really you just need a stick, but you might as well get a drumstick if you're interested in drumming. You might as well get two. And when you do this, you increase your sensitivity to various things. You think about how the sound is different when you hit it differently. You also might miss, and you might think about what happens when you missed. You start to recognize different things your hand might do. You also, I don't know how clear this will be on the camera, but like this is mostly, like I'll take these 2 fingers away. I'll actually take 3 fingers away. Like you can do this with just 1 finger. And if you do this with just 1 finger for a while, you start to really get familiar with the muscles in your hand and what it's capable of, like how fast you could go and how much you have to bring your wrist into it if you're trying to go fast. But you can also switch to just the 2nd finger or just the 3rd finger. And it gets pretty iffy there because that's not really how you drum, but, or even just the pinky. And as you do this, you strengthen you develop all the potential for what your hands can do when it's playing an instrument. So I think people get turned off when they try to just play an instrument, and a lot of it is the teacher that you have. And luckily I had a really wonderful bass teacher and a wonderful drum teacher too when I was really little. And anyway, it's easy to be put off because we're just self-conscious. People are self-conscious, and you hear music out there, and sound that you make as a total beginner is not really like this. This is not what most people would think of as music, or what most people would not want to listen to this either. So people can be put off when they're total beginners. However, what your role is when you're a total beginner is to get familiar with yourself and your instrument. And the only way to do that is to spend time playing your instrument. All you have to do is play. You have to spend time just playing over and over. Think about your favorite musician and how long they spent practicing their craft in their life. It was hours and hours and hours and hours. And if you ever want to do something like that, if you ever want to, if you look up to that musician and you want to be like them, you have to start somewhere. You have to start building the hours, and you build the hours with minutes. You build the hours with just minutes spent with your instrument. And I really think I don't think anybody should be intimidated by the idea of becoming a musician or playing an instrument. I think you just have to spend time with the instrument, not feel self-conscious, know that you're not really playing music. You're not playing music that anybody wants to hear. But hey, most musicians, when they're practicing, they're doing it alone. They're doing it in private, and they're doing it in private for a reason. I think they wouldn't want most people to be overhearing them most of the time. They wouldn't want to find out they've been secretly recorded and now everyone has seen their practice sessions, all of them. So yeah, so I'll just get into the exercise here. And I think this is I'm going to change the microphone for a second. So check. All right. I think this is an exercise that is not intimidating, and it's something that benefits everybody at all stages of musicianship. I don't think professional musicians would disagree. Like, I'm not a professional musician. I take it seriously to an extent, but really, I can't see this ever being a waste of time. I mean, if you do it too much, it's a waste of time. But if you do too much of anything, it's a waste of your time. You have to decide what makes the most sense to do. And this exercise that I'm going to talk about is just playing a single note. So improvisation is just to make things up on the spot. It's to decide what you're playing as you play it. You don't have a plan going in. Everything I play in this lesson will be improvisation, unless I say otherwise. And you can put constraints on your improvisation such that it is less and less intimidating, less and less can go wrong. And I'm going to put the ultimate constraint on this, which is just play a single note. And that single note, all right, I'll get the bass set up here, and I think I'll have to, oh, hang on a sec. I don't have my monitor on. Oops, my bad. Headphone users. So it'll take 1 sec. So let me know if that sounds messed up. Okay, cool. All right. And I'm going to pull my microphone pretty far down as well so that I don't pick up all the extra bass noise here. So when I talk, I'll just get up on the microphone. Sorry, I'm speaking for myself right now. Really, I'm just trying to get these levels because I've never done this before, and hopefully my voice right now comes through while I'm playing the bass. Seems about right. And I'll check the chat in a minute, but okay. So the exercise is just to improvise on a single string for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or however long you want to do it. And the benefit of something like this is basically just what we were talking about. It will show you will start to you'll start to get bored, of course, and you'll develop a sense of your anatomy making the sound. You will hear different sounds as they show up coming from your different fingers, like I'm playing from different fingers now, and it sounds the same. However, when you're doing this for 10 minutes straight and you're alone, you start to notice all the subtle little things about the way you're plucking that string and the volume, or if you're muffling it, or this or that. And so you sorry. So that's one benefit of this, is that you increase the depth of the sound that you're receiving, and you increase your awareness of your anatomy that is playing the instrument. So you just, as the time goes on, you're aware. The other thing that happens, the other side of it, as I think about it, is you start to experience boredom, and you think about ways that you can make it interesting. And I think boredom is an extremely important feature of the human experience, and it gets shortcut by our accessibility of entertainment and distraction in our worlds. Like, you can always check your phone and there's a chance you get a notification which gives you a lot of dopamine, it gives you satisfaction, and then suddenly you're pulled into watching these videos. Or perhaps you watch a lot of TV and you get pulled into that, and that is entertaining. Those are things, entertainment pulls you away from boredom. And boredom, I think, is a beautiful thing where when you sit with it and you have the habitual temperament that you need to develop over the course of your life children have it to begin with, but our society sort of pulls it away from you. When you get bored, you think, what can I do that would be good? What can I do that would be fun? What can I do that would be exciting? Like, I'm bored, but I'm alive. A kid will make up a game. A kid will go out and explore. A kid will discover something new and wonder about it and investigate it. However, us as adults, when we get a little bit bored, I think even before boredom enters into our consciousness, we decide, I'm going to watch TV. I'm going to check my phone. I don't know. I mean, obviously, a lot of people have healthy reflexes as well. I'm not saying we're all totally, literally only inclined to do that. I don't think we're all total literal phone zombies, but some of us are at that point. So anyway, this is a good way, especially with the time constraint, to reintroduce yourself to boredom that you can resolve, to a type of boredom that you can move through and, just discover new things through. So I'm going to set a timer, and I'm going to do this for 10 minutes, but I'm going to comment on my experience. So hopefully it's not too boring. If I was just playing, one note for 10 minutes, I think it would be boring, but I'm going to start off with some constraints. And then over the course of the 10 minutes, as things evolve, as I notice different things, I will tell you about them. So it's an experiment. Maybe it won't be too interesting, but maybe it will. And here's the thing, I have to practice anyway, so I'm getting my hours in right now. And if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. And all right, so yeah, I'm good to go. I'll do this for 10 minutes here, because after 10 minutes, the boredom really sets in. That's kind of a long time for you to watch this on a video. But I think I'll have frequent commentary because it's constantly evolving. But if it's really dry, I will enter into, maybe I'll just do 5 minutes at that point. There's one more thing I wanted to say, and maybe I'll save it for afterwards, but maybe I should do it before. So let me write it down so I don't forget. I will save this for after the exercise, but basically I'm going to connect it to the concept of brain fog of war and how this is a general principle by which you can return to yourself, because you're returning to some of your senses that you've been neglecting or that have been carried away in other directions. Like, I haven't played bass in a couple days, and when I play bass, I am aware of my fingers in a different way. I'm aware of time in a different way, and I can, especially if I play for a long time, I can enter into a different state of mind, sort of an altered state of consciousness compared to my usual one. And when you're in an altered state, different ideas come to mind. It actually provides fertile ground for creativity, whether it's musical creativity or just general mental creativity, because you're putting yourself in a new environment. You're not just overstimulated. You're not just doom scrolling. You are now doing something controlled. And this, of course, applies to drawing. It applies to all sorts of other activities. It applies to exercise itself. You could do one exercise for a long time and just feel the different depths of that exercise. I mean, physical exercise like push-ups or curling or something, but you're really focused on, like, while I'm doing this, I'm only going to keep my attention on my arm that is lifting the weight, and I'm going to enter into that and discover new things about it, see what it's like when I actually start getting tired. Or you could put constraints on drawing. I'm going to draw using only right angles or something. I don't know. I'm not an artist, but, or even just only one color. There's so many constraints we can place on our activity such that when you close off to just that one dimension, you realize that that one dimension is multiple and has so many directions it can go into. And it's a great way to reinvigorate and re-enrich every dimension of our lives, because by pulling back, you start to see how deep everything really is, even the singular thing, even the singular note. So on that note, I will give this a shot here for about 10 minutes until this timer goes off. So, all right, and if anyone's wondering, I'll play E up here, or I don't know how I want it to be audible whether or not you're wearing headphones, and the bass it's low. If I did this, it wouldn't be good, but I'll just go here. All right. And I'll start limited, and I'll specifically move in a direction where it's like, I'll start with the most simple things I could possibly do. And the most simple thing I can possibly do is play with my index finger for a while. Right away, it's sort of in an undulating movement where the frequency picks up and then it holds off. And then as my index finger starts to get tired, I want to switch to my middle finger. And I can hear the slapping. These headphones I'm wearing are noise canceling, but I can hear the slapping of the string against the guitar. I'm not sure if that comes through the mic or not. And that depends on how I get really quiet here, but if I get loud, it starts to slap. And then I can start alternating fingers. And the thing about alternating fingers is that it doesn't have to be just 1, 2, 1, 2, where index is 1 and middle is 2. You learn in drums about paradiddles and all these drills where you start to be like, okay, well, I want to be able to do any combination of 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, or 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2. And you can start to think of it like that. You could even do those as strict drills. I'm just playing around with them and then going back to whatever feels natural in an improvisation way. I'm not trying to do a specific paradiddle drill or 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2. And you can do other patterns as they start to arise. Like a gallop. And then I introduce my third finger here, mostly just because my first two fingers are getting tired. I forgot to stretch before doing this. Would have been a good idea. And I almost just played another note. That's the thing that happens during this exercise. I almost just went up and played another note and went straight back for fun, because you get bored and your body's like, okay, like I have to play another note here. But the point of the exercise is strengthening your ability to focus on one thing. There's lots of points of it, but that's one that will play out in the real world, is the ability to focus on just one thing. It's funny, I could never play and sing at the same time. This is probably the longest I've ever spoken and played music at the same time. But it's different because I'm not playing a song or singing a song. That coordination is difficult for me, but right now I'm just droning, and that's one thing. All right, so I'm getting tired here, and I'm gonna start playing with my pinky, which is not something I'm good at, but the other three fingers are tired, and actually I feel it primarily in my forearm of my right arm, which, when I think about playing the bass, actually the evidence is right in this video, although I don't know how clear it was. When I said what's involved in playing the bass, I sort of motioned to my hands and I motioned to this arm because, this arm moves up and down. I wasn't thinking at all about this arm beyond my fingers, but the muscles that pull your fingers go all the way up into your forearm, so I was really feeling it in my forearm there. Hopefully my voice is relatively audible here. And then I can also go down to my thumb, which is how a lot of people learn to start playing the bass, especially if you're, adult or kid. I guess I was a kid when I learned, so I associate it with being a kid. But it comes in handy whenever you need it, whenever you get tired. It's good to have as much ability as possible, which is the use of learning about the anatomy that's capable of playing the instrument at any time. And I could try to go as fast as possible with my thumb, which is hard. But I was getting bored, so I tried it. Even though I know that it is going to make me tired, and the only reason I'm playing with my thumb is that I don't get tired. So now I'm really tempted to move around. However, without moving around from this fret, you can also start to learn about the frets themselves. So you're this bored, you're only halfway into the exercise, and you're like, okay, well, what can I do while still technically playing this note? And you could start pulling this fretting finger off, and what's going to happen is the note starts to buzz, probably, until it almost detunes. And we could argue about if this is cheating or not, but then I press down again, but I pull back again, and it starts to sort of detune. But I put it back. I didn't realize it would detune. As I said, I thought it would only buzz, but it starts to pull away. And you can also go down to the other side of the fret, which should also make it buzz, because that's called bad. I think you would call that bad intonation, because it doesn't give you a clean tone. But sometimes, especially if you're an improvisational performer, you might want every single sound that your instrument can give you. And the way that those people discovered all the sounds that the instrument could give them was by spending a lot of time with the instrument, just playing it. So now I'm just kind of, I don't know what I would call this rhythm, but I kind of do it by default sometimes when I just want to make a drone sound with all three of my fingers. My pinky is moving, but it's not doing anything. That is just a reflex, and I never knew that. I guess I kind of knew that this was happening, but I've never seen it before. It looks really like it desperately wants to contribute to what's going on, and it just can't. And actually, it can. So here's another thing I could practice that I almost forgot about. Is now I'm walking right, left, so to speak, with index, pinky, 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 4 1 1 4 1 4 4 1 4 1 1 4 1 4 4, and you can just build up your ability to pluck on the strings and to have every finger be valuable, because who knows, you could be on tour, you could hurt your index finger, but if you're the bassist and you've been practicing with your ring finger, then it's no problem. So now I'm playing without my index finger, and I can do basic stuff. I'm not nearly as good as when I have my index finger available, but you want to be adaptable. You just want to know what's possible and be capable of whatever you might want to do at some point. And we're getting to the end here. Last couple minutes, and I guess I'll see if anything else comes to mind, because this is a point where I'd be inclined to cut the stream, or not cut the stream, but stop the exercise. However, I just don't know what else will come to mind, because I'm not in control. My boredom is going to present different things to me. And actually, that reminds me, now that I'm trying to think of things, I could start slapping and just hitting it with my thumb. Gets a little too loud there, but I'll be careful. And that shows me something else I was forgetting to do, which is I can also give myself space. But it's kind of up to you if you want to do this exercise where the requirement is you can't stop playing. You can't give yourself too much space. But, you know. And then that opens up various things. So these are all things, if I hadn't done this stream, I probably would not have done on the bass today. And it wouldn't have, all right, that's 10 minutes. So that's your exercise. And let me bring my mic back for a second to the usual spot over here. And yeah, so that's stuff I wouldn't have done today if it weren't for this stream. And I have to think about, if I don't do it, it just starts to atrophy within me. It's not as strong. You know, atrophy sounds so dramatic, especially when I use it to refer to brain plasticity. But it applies to everything. It applies to all sorts of skills that you can develop and practice over time. And I would like to do a little bit of this every day. I would like to do a little bit of everything regularly. Like, I'm not an artist. I'm not good at drawing at all, but I apply the same principle I was describing with music for everyone to art for myself, where it's like, I know if I practice, I will be better at drawing. I know I'll be able to do some of what I would like to do with a pen on paper or even with paint if I put in the time and I put in the sensory deprivation in order to get to know how that paint is mixing together, how my brush stroke is affecting what shows up on the page versus what I think is going to show up on the page. So then my beliefs about what I think I'm doing start to conform with, oh, that's actually what I'm doing. And that's my issue with drawing is, you know, I've got a great picture in my mind and then I go try to do it and I have no idea how to make it come out. I see it and I'm like, well, I break it into parts and I'm like, okay, well, to draw the head, I probably have to start like this. And I can picture just those starting points. But once I act with the pencil, you know, it's ruined. It's at the very least, it's not ruined, but it's not what I had intended. So I have to practice in order to get to the point where Oh, that's what I intended. Oh shit, I probably forgot to do something here, and it's really such a shame if I did, but I think I forgot to add some delay on my bass here. So my audio processor, oh, that's such a shame. My audio processor is faster than my camera processing, and so my microphone is delayed so that everything's in sync. I think the bass was just a little bit off, but I fixed it. We'll take a look. Either it was fine before and it's off now, or it was off before and it's fine now. And I will play one more time to illustrate another aspect of this exercise, and then we can call it a day. But yeah, this is something that I think applies to our whole lives in the current technological situation, because it's so easy to get dragged around and dragged along, and it's easy to spend so much time doing things that are not improving or practicing the things that you want to turn into in your life. If you want to be a musician, you have to do those things that will turn you into the musician that you want to be, the more capable musician. And I think it's all of our responsibility, especially younger people right now, to put a lot of work into a strategic plan for the 21st century, where you're not just totally caught off guard in the 2030s, and you're not just totally, political cattle, and you can actually adapt to the uncertain future that is arising in this rapidly changing world with a horrible global security situation and national everything. So anyway, I'll just do one more thing here, because the proper way to then purge that tension that arises from all the constraint is to then play unconstrained for some forced amount of time as well. And I won't do this for as long, because I don't know, because no one needs to hear that, but I will do it for a minute or 5 minutes. And it's a great way to get ready if you're going to practice. It's a great way to get in the mindset, because it takes the world away. If you're going to just practice a song that you have to perform, and you just spend all day at work, and then you come home and you make dinner and you're like, okay, I'm going to practice. If you just go and do it, all the world is still with you. But if you put something in between you and the practice session, you can cleanse that from yourself, and you can be like, oh, wow, I'm really, I was just playing my instrument, I'm warmed up, but my mind is it's like exploding with ideas for other things to do. I would love to do something else other than just play this one note over and over. So I will now just do that for a minute, and hopefully the stream has been interesting and perhaps of use to musicians or non-musicians. I really think anyone can do this. And one more thing before I just do an improvisation for 5 minutes is, here's the other thing. Most people are very hesitant to improvise, but I think anyone can improvise, especially children, and there just needs to be an environment cultivated for it. And I don't think it's all that difficult to do that. I don't think it's too difficult to make people not self-conscious, because the thing is, you just have to build up a minute of playing your instrument. I love introducing the drums to someone who's never played the drums before, because it doesn't take that long to get the very basic thing. And then I can hop on another instrument like bass or electric guitar and start playing with them. And then suddenly they are improvising, they are jamming, even they're just doing the basic beat. That's like what you show them. But then a lot of people are like, well, what's the next thing I can do? Like, can I play these other two drums? Like, can I do a fill? And some people will just start mixing it up naturally to begin with. So yeah, anyway, I'll just do a quick 5-minute total improvisation here. And the other thing about improvisation is a lot of it's garbage. Even if it's performed, a lot of it is garbage, because garbage, okay, there's beauty in everything. There's beauty in every sound, sure. But not everything needs to be performed in front of people. And some improvised music is just trash. And a lot of people could benefit from just practicing. I'm guilty of this, absolutely. I've played plenty of improvisational sets, noise sets, whatever. amongst other types of performances. But in those ones, it's always a toss-up. You don't know if you have the right thing to share, and it's hard to develop that. So I don't blame anyone for doing that. But the thing I bring up, or the reason I bring it up is, I guess the reason I bring it up is because I'm about to do a performance like that. And so the thing is, I welcome a critical eye. I welcome a critical ear, rather. I'm not performing because I think it's going to be good. I'm performing because I'm demonstrating this exercise and what comes out of it. And at the end of the day, what we have to do is just play. And you just have to play. You have to build up the minutes and hours and days of playing your instrument. And then at the end, it's like, okay, I feel pretty good on this thing at this point. And I feel like I can go out there and I can perform in front of people. And, you know, I think everyone's capable of experiencing that feeling. So I'll just get this set up and we can hop off. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. And if you could like the video, subscribe, leave a notification, or hit the bell for notifications. Leave a comment if this was interesting to you, or if you have a criticism of the method. You know, not that it's really like a method to employ. It's just a little exercise. And yeah, I appreciate it. Share it with anyone if you think they might like it, any fellow musicians or anything. Okay, so I'll get the bass back here, get my headphones back up. Sorry. Oh, what was that? It seemed like the left and right went out. And maybe it's just my headphones. Check. So, yeah. And I don't really know how the tone sounds for this thing. I didn't do too much of a test beforehand. But okay, so I'll comment on this as well if I have anything to share, like as I perform. But this will probably be different. I think I will just play for 5 minutes straight and let it be sound. All right. Okay, sorry, one more thing, which is I will start in a way that I frequently start after doing that type of exercise, which is just start with the note, start with like one note. I guess it doesn't have to be the same note, but often I want to just think. I'm still in the frame of thinking with that one note, but I just want to let myself be freed from the constraint. So I start in the same place and then I break the constraint, and that is an enjoyable thing about it. So all right, now here we go. So that was 5 minutes of improvisation. And one more note that concludes the lesson. Hang on here. Check. Checking the mic. All right. So I think that concludes the lesson. I said what I wanted to say earlier, and that's just a little bit of after that type of an exercise, you can just release and you can just play. And the thing about improvisation, kind of the way that I judge it for myself and for other people when I'm listening to them, and I don't know what my friends who are really opinionated about this stuff might say, but for me, it's just clear in a performance, like, did it come together at all? Like, did it happen is kind of how I think about it. I'm just like, well, did it happen in that set for me or for that other person or that group of people or me and this group of people? Did it happen? Was it worth it? Like, and there were some things in there I thought were interesting, but mostly it was, I don't practice that much. So especially improvisation, and I have not been performing much in a long time. So this is a different type of thing. And anyway, yeah, so I don't think people should be too caught up. Well, here's the thing. You jam with someone or you improvise with someone, and it's like, then the music stops and you just kind of look at each other awkwardly, and it varies. I mean, some people have a lot to say about what occurred or what they want to do next or some insight about it, but I find a lot of people, it is about playing the music. So then when the music stops, it can be awkward. And in that moment, it's not that anyone is judging anyone. I think it's more everyone is everyone is judging themselves and is kind of like not sure what the others think of their performance, or I don't know, because everyone's obviously mostly aware of what they're doing. You want to be listening to everyone, but you're providing what you're providing, and you're particularly aware of that. Someone asks how long I've been playing. So I started playing the drums. I'm not totally sure when I did. It was in elementary school, maybe like second or third grade. And then bass, I actually checked this recently, but I forget. I would say fifth grade. And bass became more dominant for me than the drums. And then in college, I played in punk bands and toured around the country, playing in basements and venues and bars and stuff. And like just DIY type, real low tier punk band, like just, you've never heard of it. And but yeah, playing in houses and that kind of stuff. So anyway, so bass was definitely predominant for me at that point. But then in my mid-20s, I'm 29 now, early mid-20s, I started to play drums some more, and I met a musician who I still play with, who I would name drop him. He's an improviser in New Haven, but I don't know if he wants his name on the stream. So anyway, so he pushed me more into free improvisation. He freed me up from time constraints and from constraints in general, where it's like, let's just improvise, let's just listen to each other, and let's just see what happens, and let's just build up and build up and build up. So and then I don't know, once I was into free improvisation, bass came back for me too, and I built up on the bass again. So I play drums and bass. I practice them. And no, someone asks in the chat, no, I'm not currently in a band playing bass, but I keep it up. I practice. Sometimes I do improvisation sets, and more often I will just play in private with people because I'm not really trying to go out there and have a captive audience. The thing about music culture right now is you're going to have a captive audience just by nature of the respect that it is conventional to pay to the performer. And look, if I'm up there and I'm playing like shit, I don't want someone to have to watch me for 30 minutes if they don't like it. I think we should cultivate a critical, I don't think anyone should be insulting anyone, but that goes both ways. I don't think any performers should be insulting the audience by doing something that they probably should just be doing at home, if at all. But I don't think the audience should insult the performer. Right now, it's just way too far in the other direction. The audiences will take whatever and pay respect to it, and they will applaud. There's very little criticism. It's very welcoming of just anybody making art. And I understand that in a sense, but I also think we should try to, you know, like there's good art and bad art. It's not really all the same, but it's good for everyone to explore their creative capacities, but it doesn't mean that everything needs to be granted an audience every time they want to book a show. So that's a little bit of how I feel about that. However, I have performed improv stuff as a means of driving across the country. So I'll every once in a while I'll do a tour with a friend of mine, and we'll book some shows and just drive across the US, and it's great. Pays for the trip and everything. I mean, we don't get hotels. We'll just stay in friends' houses, like people we meet who put on the shows, and it's great. I've gone mostly down to Florida and back, but also over to Minnesota and back. And then when I was in the punk band, we actually did the entire US. So I've played in most states of the US, but not not all of them, and not always in venues. Certainly, like, very often just in basements in somebody's living room, and that is how I liked it, and still how I like it. But yeah, so I don't know. I mean, if anyone has any questions, let me know, but otherwise I will hop off here. But yeah, the point of the music, or the point of the lesson, the key takeaways are just play music, and also bring yourself back to one thing. Like, and that goes beyond music, which is, I think we really need to take time in the day to wash the day off of us, to desensitize a little bit, to just I really think of it as cleaning primarily, where the day's events just harden you up, and you feel intense. You may have an argument at work or something that sticks with you when you go home. But if you take time to pull yourself away from that, it's like going in the clean room or something, or going in a pressure chamber as a diver. I don't know. You have to go in order to really get back to yourself, you have to take some time to be like, okay, well, I'm not out there being influenced by the world anymore. I'm not being influenced by the phone right now. I'm just going to be in this limited state. And that could be all sorts of things. It could be journaling. It could be meditating. It could be like actually trying to deprive yourself. I don't know if that's the best word. I don't know what a Zen guy would say to my describing it that way, but deprive yourself of thought, sort of try to release all the thoughts and return to your breathing. And there's all sorts of things you can do. But if you're a musician, and as we've learned, even if you're not a musician and you have access to an instrument, just play. And the other thing is, even if you have books or something, like, we're not in a culture of hand drum music. Although, I mean, there's increasingly a lot of immigrants from South and Latin America where there is a lot of hand drum music. But even with just a pile of books or something, there's so much. Let me see if this comes through the mic. Yeah, a little bit. But there's so much you can do even just here. And this is ultimately a meditative exercise, and it is also a musical exercise, whether you're a musician or not. You can just tap. You can get used to what it feels like for your hand to strike the drum. And when you finally get your hands on a conga or bongos or something, it will be really nice. Although even on a regular drum set, you can play with your hands if you have a snare drum or access to that. And you can do paradiddles: right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left. All of this, this is valuable to me as a drummer. I'm not doing this just as an example. I think this is something that I could spend an hour doing and learning a lot about my hands and learning a lot about sound and different sounds that I can get out of my pile of books here. And not only that, but not to mention rhythm itself and time itself, where you just start to fracture time a little bit and get into, what is this space between my hits? Dot, 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 You know? So, totally valuable. Not to mention leading with your non-dominant hand. I'm right-handed. Anyway, so just another thing. Really, anyone can do anything like this. So, let me check out. Be surprised. Cool. I appreciate the new people in the chat. Yeah, check it out. I might do some, when I have an idea for a music lesson, I'll do a music lesson every once in a while. I've thought about doing an improv, like just a bonus stream, not an episode of the show, but just like a bonus stream here or there where I do an improvisation if I feel good about my practice at that point and I feel like I can deliver something that people might want to listen to. At the very least, I know my mom wants to listen to it, so I'll probably do some of those just so she has something to hear that's from me. And yeah, I got a new camera. It's actually really great, and my computer is sort of unable to handle. My computer is not cut out for streaming, period. It's just not ready for this. But I'm talking to a guy on Craigslist who is going to sell me like a gaming PC, basically, locally. And that will open a lot of doors for the show. I'll be able to overlay text while I'm reading it if it's something from the browser, or maybe I could have friends call in and, I don't know, have a conversation every once in a while. Lots of different options. I could game, you know, but that's I don't see that in the near future. But I definitely if I hit 1,000 subscribers, I will do a gaming stream. I'll play like Cruelty Squad or like Oblivion Remastered or something. I don't know what I'll do, but anyway, yeah, the new camera is sick. Yeah, someone in the comments makes a good point. 8 billion in this world, someone's gonna like your music. That's true, so I should go for it. All right, well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I appreciate it. This video has been the most popular one, at least in terms of while it was live. A lot of people checked in on it. I don't know how many people. Seems like a lot of people stuck around. And yeah. So I think I'll give it a shot in the future, but I don't want to just dilly-dally here. I don't really think I have a whole lot more to add to something like this. So, but I appreciate everybody for tuning in. So subscribe if you like it. My usual show, we are talking about the difficulty of the present technological and political situation that we all live in, where everyone's addicted to phones and media, and it's hurting their ability to process who they are and what the world is and move through the world. And I think we're all getting a lot poorer. We're all getting sort of dispossessed and pulled away from any political power we could exert in the world. We have very little say over our communities or the worlds that we want to live in. It's very difficult to even build your own home anymore. And it's just this 100 years old plus process of increasing control that takes power away from people. And the purpose of the show is to be a little bit of a respite from that, where people can come and hear me acknowledge it, because it's gaslighting to be out in the world and hear about how, I don't know, just to witness the norms. The big thing for me is how normal it is to actually damage your brain through a real addiction to smartphones, or to damage your lungs through an addiction to disposable vapes, or, you know, damage your digestive system through an addiction to food that is advertised and created and then advertised such that it just makes them money. It's not about giving you nutrition. It's about selling you a product. There's so much about our world that I consider to be very upside down. So I want to be a place where people can, go and get a little bit of a break from that. And I read a lot of texts on the show, little excerpts from them, not entire texts, things I find relevant in my exploration of the literary and cultural world that is slipping away from us. All of the artifacts that we still have access to, and we're lucky to still have access to, in books and in internet archives and in art and, you know, everything. So yeah. All right. Well, Oh, and the other kind of purpose of the show, I would say, is to over time, I think I'm trying to develop a clear. I just want it to be so clear and easy, especially easy to describe what is going on in our relationship to media and with our cultural norms that I consider to be destructive and hateful and not healthy for a human society. So I want all of that to be really clear because families encounter such strife and people encounter mental illness and people are dropping out and there's a huge fentanyl epidemic and it's clearly difficult for a lot of people to get by. And I don't think there really is much help you can go to the society for because the society is primarily interested in continuing to circulate its capital and get you back to work, put you on SSRIs if you're sad. And there's not much room for cultural critique. So I want the cultural critique to be really clear. I want us to know what we're getting into when we doom scroll on our phone, when we normalize stuff like that. And especially it's a social program. I want people to encourage each other to heal from this stuff and strengthen themselves against it and start building a new culture in the world in the 21st century. So that's what the show is about. And yeah, I appreciate that. And yeah, that is a I agree with you, LD40, and we'll see how long I'm allowed on YouTube talking about that kind of stuff. But I think I am going to start simulcasting to Kick and stuff preemptively because you just don't know how the censorship landscape will evolve over time. And I also want to get a Patreon up this weekend because I'm a used bookseller. And I'd like to have a tier where I send everyone a book once a month. Just everyone gets a different book. You can give me a short list of your interests. It'll be a survey like history, fiction, poetry, whatever you want. And I'll just send out some books because I've got thousands of books that are sitting around. And I sell them on the street in New York. I don't live in New York, but I go down there and sell on the street. So anyway, yeah, big plans for the show. And I appreciate everybody for tuning in. And yeah, I'm going to hit the road. So I'll be back Monday night, Monday at, well, again, here's the other thing. Like, daylight savings time happened. I thought I was going to be doing this at 9 p.m., but bro, it is, now that's 10 p.m. So I think the show is probably just a 10 p.m. show now, Monday at 10 p.m. All right. I appreciate you. And thank you, LD40, for joining the chat. It's good to hear from you, and I hope to see you again. I'll be back at this. I'm taking this pretty seriously. So I'll see you guys later, and have a great night. Have a great weekend.